Amitofo. Welcome to you all. We're going to continue today with advanced meditation pointers. We will start with a bow and the recitation of the four great vows. Please join your hands. Bow. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. We have been talking about how to meditate. Last week, we kind of talked more about Dharma than we were talking about how to meditate. Meditation is pretty easy. You just kind of cross your legs and you sit up straight and keep your eyes either partially open, looking down, or closed. And that's pretty much it. Don't move. The erroneous aspect of the practice is the insistence that we have to stop the mind from thinking. This is as if I would tell you, if you're going to want to get enlightened, the best thing you can do is just hold your breath. But you'd say, how can I do that? How can I just hold my breath? Exactly. You can't do it that way. You can't stop the mind from thinking. It's naturally going to happen. That's the part we understand. We have to let that go. We have to begin to use such an acute awareness in the present moment to notice that the thoughts are arising. The difficult part that we have with all of this is that for some reason we insist on letting the ego sit with us and preside over the whole happenings of meditation. Why? You don't need that. You don't understand that which is arising, thoughts, ego, emotions, sensations, vexations, and desires, all of those are on the other side. They're projections. They're phenomena. What is sitting is the noumenon. You could say the denominator, where the phenomena is the numerator, the mind ground. And that mind is looking into mind. It's not really looking, because even when we talk about right view, it isn't really right view as a point of me looking at something and saying this is right or this is wrong. It is simply understanding clearly that everything arises from mind, and that the mind uses wisdom to discern the difference from the phenomena from its intrinsic nature. What is its intrinsic nature is mind. If we don't understand this, don't get on the cushion. Really, don't get on the cushion. You'll get there, but it will be very, very difficult. It's better for you to know what you're doing before you get on that cushion. Know what it's all about. But if you sit and are waiting for enlightenment, or waiting for that there's not going to be any thoughts, this is very pitiable, because it isn't going to happen that quickly. At some point, the mind is going to be able to illuminate and go, wow, all of this, including what I'm thinking now, is phenomena. But that takes a longer time. If you really want to do this, all you have to do is just sit. everything else that's going to come up is going to come up naturally. Now, I tell you this all the time. And in some ways, I'm telling some of the people who are new here that have not heard this before or only heard it a few times, again, so that you understand what meditation is. So you don't take so much time to get into a samadhi. When you approach the cushion and you're able to sit and in a state of what we call non-conceptual wakefulness, then meditation works. If it doesn't, it's just you still stirring the pot around, making images. We don't understand that because the you is still there. When you go to sit to meditate, the you should not be present, but we don't exclude the you. We just simply put it in its proper category, which is a projection in the mind that we call phenomena, something that's arising. What we do when we're checking off the boxes and saying, okay, this noise, you're on that side. This smell, that you're on that side. Method, you're on that side. And how about the one that's checking off the boxes? What? Oh, you need me to? Don't know. Boom. It is the mind then restores itself to its natural nature. You cannot restore it to the natural nature. Not you, so long as you are operating as a sentient being that's trying to get somewhere or trying to put something down. But mind, it only has the function. The function is the method. When the mind is there with the method, it's mind looking at the method projected on mind. It is not two, it's not three, it's not the method and mind, the knowing mind and the mind ground. If the ego appears, then it appears to be two or three. If the ego is not present, then there's not two or three, not even one. It is just simply mind at rest. When we can sit in this way, it works. When we don't, then we're just struggling all the time. The more you let the ego in, the more it will mess things up. So you have to understand this. All of the sutras and the treatises talk about this, but we never really make the connection. In the Huayan school and Tiantai school, they talk about phenomena and noumena. And so we understand that. In the higher groups of the Tathagata Garbha Sutras, they talk about non-conceptual wakefulness. Very interesting because it's saying that which is conceptual is an illusion. It does arise in mind, but the wakefulness is that which perceives what is arising in mind. This is the perception of Guanyin Bodhisattva, Avalokitesvara, perceiving that it's all empty. It's all appearing in mind, projected in mind. We know phenomena is distinguished from its intrinsic nature. How is it distinguished? Because tomorrow when you come at this time, wherever you're at, your intrinsic nature will be there, but I won't be there. I may be there in recollection, but I will not be a projection on a screen. Everything is changing. Those things that change, that are mutable are phenomena. That which is immutable is the intrinsic nature of the mind. It will be there tomorrow, I promise you. It was there when you were born. It was there before you were born. It'll be there after this red meatball takes in its last breath. It is in this way. When we understand this, this is not so difficult to understand. So when we sit to meditate in this way, the mind being at rest and being in a state of non-conceptual wakefulness is aware, incredibly aware. And that awareness continues to expand and expand to the infinite. Right now, it's good enough just that it knows the general area around your cushion, what's happening, and that you are not at work or you're not wanting something or reliving something in your mind or whatever. Those things are momentary illusions. A lot of you now are beginning to get the idea of the Diamond Sutra of a bubble in a stream or a dewdrop on a leaf, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud. All of these things showing the fleeting nature of the idea of phenomena. And what's really important about this is that we have to put on the phenomenal side you, your ego, your name, your desires, impressions, everything about you, your thoughts, they all go to the phenomenal side. It's okay, don't worry. You know, at the end of the lecture, you can redeem it at the door and, go along with your ego. Or you can just decide to just defer picking it up. But at least when you're meditating, you should defer that and just check your ego in. Gilbert, he's on the phenomenal side. But I want to go with you. You can't go with. No, I want to go with you. How am I going to know when I'm enlightened? You're not going to get enlightened. But I want no. That's the problem. You have to be on that side. Non-conceptual wakefulness is important. Think about the words non-conceptual wakefulness. This is how you direct your mind to non-conceptual wakefulness. There is a will part in the mind, but the will comes from the intrinsic nature of the mind in following function, and in following that function then enables the mind to cultivate wisdom. That wisdom lets us know that this one that is talking is mutable, it can be changed. But the heart within that person is immutable. So you're still getting something. You're just keeping the good part. Like they always say in the old days, the wheat, separating the wheat from the chaff. The chaff is there and it belongs to mind. It never comes or goes. But the intrinsic nature is that which enables the chaff and the wheat to appear. Does the wheat appear? It's there all the time. Where is it? You can't see it. You can't see it because you're a phenomena. But it can see you. It perceives you. And you go, I don't understand this. And this is where I'll say, you will never understand it if you cling to the idea of an ego or a life and being. Clinging to that or a personality, you cannot do it. Doesn't mean that you lose your personality. It's there, but it's now governed by wisdom, not by any kind of a self-aggrandizement or self-wanting something. So we have to see it in this way. Now, what I've explained to you is the initial part of the book of distinguishing phenomena from their intrinsic nature. I don't know if you can read that book or not. I don't know if it's clear, but hold on. Yeah. Can you read it? My screen's too low to. But this book, just maybe Ian, you can write it down. This is also called the Dharma Dharmata Vibhaga. It's from Maitreya, the Milafo, the Maitreya Buddha. And it has been kind of, how would you say it, edited for human consumption, because actually the deeper Dharma of this is difficult for humans to understand. And and even this is can be difficult, but we're going to go over a little bit of it, and all of a sudden you're going to go, woo, there it is. That's what Gilbert was talking about. So you should not avoid deep books like this or sutras like this, because it takes time, but eventually you will get there and you'll understand it. There's a lot of people that are in my mind work forum that a year ago would have no idea what I'm talking about. Now they can follow along. They're not confused. They're not frustrated. They know it just takes time to get it. They're not in any big hurry to get it. They're just listening with their heart. So you can do this, but if you think that all of this stuff is unattainable, or that Gilbert has some special skill that enables him to do it, no, the special skill in my day and age, showing my age, we would call it elbow grease. And people would say, how did you do that? Oh, I used elbow grease, meaning that you were moving, you were doing something to get it done. It doesn't get done by itself. It gets done by you seeing something. The other day I sent something to Shloka, one chapter, but that chapter I knew would ring right straight through like a pealing of a bell, so clear. And it awakened something in her, because it was about compassion, and not just this great compassion, but even the utilization of worldly compassion, and how valuable that is, and how that turns into great compassion. But it's something that in each of you, I try to give you what you need, not what you necessarily want to hear, but what you need. And I try my hardest to do that, to reach something for you that will make sense, that when I come here to talk to you, I'm not wasting your time. And to come each week to do this, I have to be serious about this, to present something that will be of value to you. Now, I want to read from you part of this book from the very beginning, to have you get an idea about this. Let me see. So it starts out in the first chapter, and it's saying the meaning of the scripture, or excuse me, the meaning of the treatise. No, it says meaning of the scripture, and then it says composition of the treatise. So it tells you where you're going with all of this. So it makes it very easy, because it already has a self-guide to how you're going to study this. This is very unique. Most sutras don't have this kind of a segmentation within it, but this one does. And it says, on the first topic, the treatise states, something is to be understood and entirely relinquish. Something is, we understand it, but as we understand it, then we have to let it go. While something else is to be directly perceived. Hence, the treatise has been composed with the wish to distinguish the characteristics of these. So here in this language, we just go, wow, that sounds good, but I have no idea what they're talking about. It's okay. Be patient. Go back and read it again. But I will read the commentary on the treatise because I think it will help you. And then I'll comment on the commentary. Something, so he's saying something is to be understood. And it's just meaning the phenomena that are the factors of thorough affliction. So it's saying this has to be understood, is to be understood and entirely relinquished. So what does it mean by entirely relinquishing it? Just like I had mentioned before, it's like the Diamond Sutra. All these things are fleeting moments. This is a fleeting moment. Tomorrow, at this very same time, I will not be there speaking about this. That was a fleeting moment. So we entirely relinquish that. We don't hold on to the things. It doesn't work that way. And it says, while some things else is to be directly perceived. Hence, the treatise has been composed to distinguish these two. So the first part is that we have to understand phenomena, how it arises. It arises from pratika samappada, causes and conditions never fail, but pratika samappada is just mind. It never fails. It's immutable. It is something that cannot be pointed to or has a sign or looks like a Buddha statue. It's immutable and it's signless, but it's still there. We don't understand that part because that which is really real appears to be unreal because we can't grab it. We can't reach for it. This is very important. It is very important when you sit to meditate that you understand this. Instead, we grasp at things. Sometimes we try not to grasp on it. I don't want to have an attainment. I just want to sit. I just want to keep my mind there. You're making a mistake already. What are you talking about? Shut up. You don't need that. You don't need somebody, this phony life caddy that you have. And if you were a golfer, you'd have the worst caddy in the world because they're always telling you the wrong things. Buy it. Get revenge. Whatever it is that they're telling you, they're not doing it in the right way. You have to trust your own heart in everything that you do. You don't listen to the ego. The ego is programmed in a habitual pattern. We all know that because all the sutras tell you that, right? What part of that is new to you? What part of that are you missing? You're not missing it. All I'm doing is weaving this all together, all the sutras together, all the treatises together, so you can see it. But this is important when you sit on the cushion. It's very important. The people who believe me and trust me about this, they can make very good advancements in the practice. Very, very good advancements. Because they just trust mind. They don't trust phenomena. So when they sit and they follow the direction that they follow is just simply sit. No thought, no purging the mind from thought. Those thoughts are not your thoughts. They are just simply an aggregate, like a string of different causes and conditions that come together momentarily. but they're not truly an essence of anything. The only essence that they are is a testament to the true nature, that they, but for the true nature, have no independent origination. They originate in mind. Now, I can't tell you how it originated in mind initially and what spurred the original ignorance, but they come from ignorance. And when we understand that, then we are careful about that. You know, we're what, 4 years removed from COVID, right? But when you were in COVID, you know, you'd be all masked up and you were aware of everything. You didn't want to touch things that could give you COVID. You were mindful of touching the stairwell, the stairs. You were mindful of pressing a button. If somebody coughed, you ran away from them. My gosh, you probably, if there was enough people, they'd probably beat them with a stick to drive them off. We were so afraid of COVID, getting COVID. Why are we not afraid of this disease of the ego? We should be mindful about that, mindful about this ignorance, because the vast majority of people in this world will never get rid of that ignorance in this lifetime. It's very sad. They'll always have that ignorance. But we're the ones that want to tell them it's okay. We'll get through this. You know, we do the things that we need to do. You know, and we're very careful and mindful about what we do. This is the practice. We're mindful about what is coming into the mind. We dare not let these passions, emotions, greed, hatred, and ignorance linger in the mind. When we sit to meditate, this is the perfect time to separate out, to what the treatise says, to distinguish phenomena from its intrinsic nature. Now, when you meditate, just let the intrinsic nature remain. Oh, how do I know whether the intrinsic nature is there or not? It's there. And stop stepping in. You won't know. You're on the other side. You're a projection. Why can't you let the original mind take a rest? Truly, that's what meditation is the mind is taking a rest. But when it sits, what happens is because it begins to disentangle itself from all of this phenomena, the opposite occurs. Where there were 10 habitual pattern thoughts, now there's 10,000. It is not that they increased, it is just simply that the awareness is now such that it discerns all the tiny arisings of thoughts. And it distinguishes them from mind, and it kind of huddles them up or gathers them up and puts them on the projection side. And it's an open gate. It doesn't trap them. It just lets them go. Go. You're free. You're free. But I want to be there when I'm free. No, just go. Just go. Don't be so concerned about that. It is in this way that we see things. Here's my phone. It's kind of interesting. Somebody texted me the other day, or last night, I think. And everybody thinks I'm awake at all times of the night. Generally, that's the case. But this person says, teacher, how to know I have their English is second language to them. So it says, how to know when you're very close to enlightenment. Okay, how to know when you're very close to enlightenment. What do you think? What would you tell this person? All right, Eon, that's your student. When they ask you, how would you know when you're very close to enlightenment?
That sort of thought never arises.
Well, it does arise. But okay, anybody else? Thank you, Eon. How would you know when you're very close to enlightenment? Tori, okay, go ahead.
I would say that if you know of anything, then that means you're not close.
Okay, all right. Oh, Rong Chen, go ahead.
I think she said what I want to say.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll
If
give
you
you
know
half
you are
credit.
enlightened, you are not enlightened.
So I wrote back when the mind never entertains that thought. So when that thought never comes up in mind, and so it's an instant extinguishment of the thought. Because if you have the thought, then that is the self or the ego. But when the ego is not arising, then the mind is getting closer. But I mean, it's not like, okay, it's closer, like well, how 50 kilometers away or 10 years away or whatever. It isn't in that way. It is just simply seeing things as they are. So we cannot answer those questions like that in that way. And so then he then responded, which thought? And I don't respond. And he says, expect. And he says, teacher, with question marks. But to answer further would be a disservice to him. So it's something that when we do that, we have to be kind in a very unusual way. But yeah, it is in this way that when we see things, we begin to understand that we separate out from the ego. The idea that there is someone who has an ego that wants to get something is not the correct way that we practice. We have to learn to trust mind. Truly trust mind. Trust your mind. It won't lead you astray. Ego will. Ego will look at a box of chocolates and look and say, if I have one now and one at noon and one in the afternoon and one in the evening and one when I go to bed, that's not that many, right? It justifies it because it's just a little tiny piece of chocolate. But that's ego. Ego will look at things. Mind just simply says why. And so when we see things in the right way, it works very well. Now let's continue on. That was just the beginning to tell you where they're going with all of this. And I didn't really finish the rest of the commentary. And it said, is to be understood and entirely relinquished, while something else, meaning the intrinsic nature, that is distinguished with the reference of fundamental transformation characterized by a complete purification, is to be directly perceived. Hence, this treatise has been composed with the wish to distinguish characteristics of these two. Thus, it is implied that this is not a distinction made between objects. This is very important. It's not a distinguishment between objects, one being phenomenal and the other one your intrinsic nature. It isn't in this way. It's not two, it's not one, it's not, it is just, it's the suchness of the mind. This is something that is to be understood and entirely relinquished, is cyclic existence. So this is the cycle of samsara, while the something else that is to be actualized is the transcendence of suffering. Because all entities that are known and either relinquished or pursued by beings fall into one of these two categories, the noble, Maitreya states. This great treatise has been composed with the vast insight and compassion, with the wish to be distinguished precisely and unerringly the characteristics of cyclic existence from those of the transcendence of suffering. So it's saying to you, really read this, understand this, because what it's doing is it's laying it out for you that those actions in mind which lead you into this cyclic existence where you could be born in heaven all the way through to the hell realm. And it is that which also leads to a deliverance, that there's no suffering there. And it's an understanding, not necessarily a deliverance and saying, here's a card, get out of jail card. You are now free to move about as wherever you want to go without suffering. It isn't in that way. Even metaphysical can't get it. It's in the esoteric side of the understanding, from feeling it from the heart. When you sit with this understanding, you can really sit good. Your samadhi will be very amazing and very quickly. But you have to prepare this platform in order for you to work it and to understand what you're doing. And you have to persevere. You cannot be one way now and tomorrow another way. It has to be consistent, the right effort with the right patience. So this is very important. The paramitas are all present when you sit. You are demonstrating those paramitas and perfecting them on the cushion. This is how it works. Then all of the paramitas and their virtues will rain down upon the environment around you. Everything will be very clear. There will be patience, wisdom, concentration, generosity, the right effort. All of the paramitas are going to be there and be present and practice in the proper way. Okay. So now we get to the next part, which is called the essence of the cyclic existence and the transcendence of suffering. If all these are summarized, they can be understood to be twofold, because everything is included in the phenomena or their intrinsic nature. So it's very interesting, because here it understand this, how he says this. He says they can be understood to be twofold, because everything is included in phenomena and their intrinsic nature. So it's not putting phenomena here and intrinsic nature here, and we should not understand that to be twofold in that way, but we should understand there's a distinguishment between that which is phenomenal and that which is the mind ground from where the phenomena comes from. And that's important. So we don't take a knife and chop off the phenomena and it's gone. We don't do that. What we do is we see through it to the intrinsic nature. And we see that the intrinsic nature, all of this phenomena is appearing because of the intrinsic nature. This is something for us not easy to understand, because rather than separate them out, we have to merge them into what's called a self-absorption of mind. It's absorbed back in. But when we do this, then the phenomena itself is purified, because we don't cling to it. We understand it comes from mind. Why is it purified? How would that make it pure? Anybody? This is like really advanced stuff. So, but why do you think it's purified? Nobody? Because the sutras always talk about that, right? They talk about things that are non-defiled, and when we see it, we ultimately see this in this way. But it's purified because it belongs to mind. It's a function of mind. Not only that, but that which is phenomenal is simply an appearance, a momentary blip on a screen. If we had a cosmic calendar, that moment of ignorance is gone so quickly. The screen itself is the Dharma field, it's pure. But there was simply an illusion, a dream that came in, but it's not real. We say, yeah, I knock on the table, it's real. I knock on my head, it hurts. It's not real. We are doing mind work. We're looking right into mind. This is very, very important. This is not easy stuff to start with, but you're hanging in there with me, and I appreciate it, because this is good stuff, because it makes a difference. When you sit on that cushion, then you know what you're doing. It's not you that's sitting, it's mind sitting. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say all phenomena doesn't matter, or all the ego or all those things don't matter. If it didn't matter, I would not be talking to you. The Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas would not dwell in this world. But it does matter, but it is a different way of looking at things, not from the idea of subject and object and suffering and not suffering, but seeing that this is an awakening, a non-conceptual awakening. When we say non-conceptual, that means that there's nothing there that we can cling to, whether it's ignorance or enlightenment. Neither one is there, and they're always talking about neither ignorance or nirvana exist. Nirvana is just a concept, so it goes on the other side. Pretty good way of looking at it. Is it a concept? Boom, it's over on the other side. Where did it go to the other side? There's not really an other side. It is simply goes back into the mind ground, and the mind is simply sitting. And here's the thing about sitting: when you really practice well, where are you when you're sitting on the cushion? You know, we'll say that the mind and the body should be together. That's one way to look at it, but this is samsara. Whereas the mind, in that point, it's non-dwelling. It's abiding and not abiding. So abiding and not abiding means that one lets go of concepts. When one is sitting on the cushion, letting go of the concepts. How long am I sitting? What am I going to eat? My legs hurt. The mind just abides in not abiding. This makes meditation work. You see the difference? And you can see in how I'm explaining it to you, the errors that you made before in doing it. You make the errors of trying to subdue the pain, subdue the suffering, subdue the anticipation of some accomplishment. But it's non-conceptual wakefulness. Imagine if you, day to day, you could be in a state of non-conceptual wakefulness. That'd be pretty good, right? If it was that or taking a SpaceX rocket ride, which one would you choose? One will get you off the Earth, but only for about 15 minutes, assuming you get back in one piece. And the other one guarantees that there'll be no piece of you left. Which one would you choose? You see, it's precious, precious, precious sitting in this way. There's no you there. Click, click, ding. You can get up or not get up. It doesn't matter. If you get up, you keep that non-conceptual wakefulness. And then what happens is everything around you begins to clarify. Again, I have to caution you, in the beginning, it's frustrating because where there were the 100 vexating thoughts, there's 10,000 vexating thoughts. But that's natural because the mind is capable of being aware of more. But we neutralize it with wisdom. We don't cling to it. It doesn't matter if there's 10 big vexating thoughts or 100,000 vexating thoughts. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. They just go by. They have nothing to stay in mind. There's no purpose. If you're in non-conceptual wakefulness, it cannot cling. It cannot cling to the consciousness because there's nothing there that enables it to adhere to the present moment consciousness. So it just leaves. When you understand how mind works, then you can meditate. If people give you ABC, how to meditate, you'll be meditating ABC. But why not practice with right view? And then it will work better. Okay, we continue on. I'll read the last verse completely. That which is classified as phenomena is cyclic existence, whereas the intrinsic nature is classified as a transcendence of suffering. Okay. The next part is the characteristics of cyclic existence and transcendence of suffering. So this is where we're at. And this is the characteristics of phenomena. Here, phenomena is defined as an appearance of duality, of things expressed, the appearance of a false imagination. They appear, yet do not exist. Therefore, they are false. These, as well as these as well are entirely non-existent in actuality. So it's saying they exist, they appear, but they're false. They don't have an independent existence to them. They give their appearance, the reason for appearing is from the intrinsic nature of the mind. But that appearance itself is not the intrinsic nature of the mind. The mind gives rise to it just like you give rise to a dream at night. In the morning, if let's say you won the lotto in a dream, in the morning you cannot find the ticket that has the winning numbers because that was just a dream. And here, for you to try to say, I want to become enlightened, it's the same way. That which is composed, an aggregate of various things, form, sensation, perception, volition, consciousness, they're all empty. Okay, we continue on. These, as well as entirely non-existent in actuality, since they are merely concepts, they are imaginary. Okay, some more time. Now, this is called the characteristics of their intrinsic nature. So it says, on the second topic, the treatise states, furthermore, so he was talking about phenomena, and now we're talking about the intrinsic nature. Furthermore, the intrinsic nature is defined as suchness, in which there is no distinction between apprehended and apprehender, the expressed and that which expresses. So this is, again, the Mahaprajnaparamita Sutras. This is building upon that and saying that there's no giver, no receiver, no one to see something and nothing to be seen, which is all from the Heart Sutra as well. And so when we see this, it's saying this is how the intrinsic nature works. And here it defines it as a suchness, or it could be thusness, like Tathagata. The term suchness is one that, if you try to define it, how could you define it? That which is the totality of all phenomena. It's more than that, though, you see. Suchness or thusness is more than just saying it's the totality of all phenomena. Phenomena is given rise in mind, but mind is infinite. It's beyond being able to say everything belongs to mind. Everything's created by mind, but mind cannot be defined by the fact that these things are created. It can't be that way. You see, the scientists, very interesting. I don't have Michael here, but somehow they weighed the universe. I don't know if anybody's heard of this. I don't know how they weigh it, but they presuppose, how much, give or take a kilo or so. They know how much the universe should weigh. But something very interesting was that they could only account for half of the matter there. And it says it should weigh this much, but it only weighs half that. This is just to give you something to ponder upon. So what's the matter? It's because the quantum physicists posit that it is that we don't take into account the antimatter, that which yet has come into being or gone out of being or whatever. There is something there. The Chinese figured this out a long time ago, and they used the Tai Chi symbol, right? Of that which is known and moving, and that's moving towards the emptiness, and the emptiness is moving towards the phenomena. There's a perfect balance there. Scientists can't figure that out. But when we see things, we see them in a very interesting way. But even so, we can weigh this phenomena, but we cannot weigh what it appears on. It's weightless. And it's a very interesting thing because when we see this in this way, it's beyond comprehension. We have to let go of that. If you can let go of that, it would be as if you're going into not a wormhole, but piercing the sky. I use that all the time because it's one that if you continue to ponder it, it might lead to a way to allow the intrinsic nature to be revealed. And again, you're not going to run into what are you? I'm the intrinsic nature. I can't see you. Well, that's because I'm the intrinsic nature. But how can I talk to you? By function. It's not in this way. But we have to bridge, we have to move beyond the idea of a life and being to be able to do that. So let me see. Get one more. This is called the underlying rationale for those characteristics. So this is how do we explain these characteristics? And it says, since non-existence appears, delusion is the cause of thorough affliction. Because while all illusory elephant and so forth may appear, that which exists does not. Sorry, because I just threw you into where it starts getting to the inconceivable portion of the program. But I'll start back with this the next time. But it says, if either non-existence or appearance were non-existent, then delusion and the absence of delusion, as well as thorough affliction and complete purification, would not make sense. So what it's saying is, because of these things in terms of the way they are, it wouldn't make sense if it wasn't in this way. So it starts with this, since non-existence appears. So when we say non-existence appears, where does it appear? It appears in mind that it's non-existent. We see the things, but we understand that the fundamental intrinsic nature of these is that they are not existent. Delusion is the cause of thorough affliction. So the idea of clinging to these gives rise to suffering. Because while an illusory elephant and so forth may appear, that which exists does not. So the illusory elephant may appear, or you may appear. You're making an appearance in mind, just a little flash of lightning in a summer cloud. But that which truly exists, does not appear. How could mind appear in mind? The mind ground cannot appear in mind ground. Mind knows the mind ground, but it is not an appearance. It is suchness. This is the difference. This is the part we've got to really work on. And I can see you're all like pondering this and doing it, and that's good. That's what you should be doing with this, is because it's not delivering it to you on a silver platter. It's telling you, work on this, really work on this, ponder this, contemplate this. And then the final verse of that says, if either non-existence or appearance were non-existence, delusion and the absence of delusion, as well as thorough affliction and complete purification, would not make sense. So they're saying, even in this, we cannot say that that which is phenomenal is not existent. Even though we say it's an illusion, nevertheless, it's given rise because of the dependent nature of all phenomena. It cannot be separated out. But even that dependent nature of all phenomena and the fact that a dream appears does not give it any signs, any lasting quality to it. It is just simply very quick. That's what the Diamond Sutra is talking about, is all of this phenomenal nature is a dream. It's hard for us to understand that because we're walking around in a dream all the time. But hang in there, and we'll keep working on this. So we're finished for the night. Thank you for listening. I'll take questions. Shloka, yes, come on in.
Amitabha, Gilbert. Thank you for the lecture. I'm not sure if something does feel different, but you spoke about the paramitas, and so then the question came up as to how are we practicing the paramita of generosity when we sit? Is it because of the vows?
The generosity is that when we sit, we have the vow that we want to practice in this way to deliver sentient beings. The more that we practice sincerely, the more we're capable of building this foundation to be able to assist others. Like you are in the future will have foundations, right? And you need to establish the foundations if you want to help poor people or whatever, women, and then you have to have a foundation. It has to be funded. And so when you're sitting in meditation, in proper meditation, you're funding that foundation. You're creating the necessary grounds for those things to appear in mind.
Okay.
You're asking the right questions. And these little by little are little pieces of the puzzle that are snapping together for you. You don't have it quite all the way, but you're still working on it, and that's good. This is good stuff for you, Shloka. Honestly, I mean, you've got to do that and then put it into practice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Renee.
Amitabha, thank you for your lecture. I have two questions. First is about dream. Just recently, I had the same dream twice. In the dream, I created a person, and then I wrote a story for this person. Then I woke up, and I feel that's just like my reality. I creating a vision of myself and writing so many stories all the day for this person.
What did the person do in the dream?
It's just I know I created the person and it doesn't do anything. But then I tried to write a story for this person and I wake up.
Okay. When you have things like that, then you should write down what was happening. Or if you get an epiphany, like if I get an epiphany in the middle of the night, I will write down what I need to put down, because if I get off the bed, I'll forget it. Someday it'll begin to make more sense for you. Okay. So right now it's just mind is exposing something to you. There's a message there. It's not by accident. So just don't think too much about it. But on the other hand, no, you kind of follow your heart with that and see where it goes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
This is natural. Okay. It's good. It's a good experience, but as long as you don't cling to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And
Oh,
my
you're
second
welcome.
question about sincerely. So you always talking about sincerely. So does that mean first, the sincerely means focus. Second is don't put the self in. Don't put ourselves in.
Yeah, I think the sincerity is a let's say has many aspects to it. One of them, it has to be continuous. It has to be the right sincerity, where one is always um, expressing sincerity, not for a reward or for their self-aggrandizement, but to help others. And as we begin to practice in this way, sincere and not a falsehood or a false appearance that we do things, but that we do that from our heart, then people begin to trust you. And then it begins to become a very productive sincerity, because that sincerity permeates everything that you do in terms of function. And give you a very simple uh, example. If someone is to clean a bathroom, as you may know, in retreats, people have different assignments. My first assignment when I went to the first retreat was to clean the bathrooms, and I cleaned them with great sincerity. I cleaned them far beyond what they were cleaned before, and working around the backsides of pipes and different things. There was a sincerity there of doing it in this way. Nobody told me I had to do that, but it was just something. And so this is the sincerity that we do in everything, in every function that we have, and it will work for you. So keep working on that. It's good.
Thank you so much.
Okay. How'd you do? Good.
Hello,
There you
Gilbert.
are.
So I have also two questions. Yeah, the first one is about dreams. I had two dreams, and the first one was a teaching, and the question was, "What is the Buddha?" And the answer was from the teacher was the contact between sentient beings.
Say it again. What was the answer?
The contact between sentient beings.
Okay.
This was the first dream, and the second one, I watched the situations in so much aspects, and the aspects was different persons. So I think it's not important the story of the situation, but I was in so much aspects, and so much aspects was different people's. So this was the two dreams, and yeah, but you answered halfly about the dreams. So yeah.
Sometimes, because when we're asleep, the ego is not present. So the mind is able to present you something because of your sincerity in practicing and studying. It will give you a gift. It will present something to you without the self being present. You have to write these down and then contemplate them. Like, do you really know what is being said when it's saying the contact between sentient beings. And so you need to contemplate that, and deeper and deeper and deeper, and until you see there is a fundamental truth there. But you can stop at just saying, well, that sounds pretty good, or you can, it's a gift for you to contemplate and to practice. And so if you contemplate and practice it sincerely, there'll be more opportunities where dreams will come to you. If you put it to the side, they go, put an X there and say, we'll move on to somebody else. But if you really sincerely investigate, even though it may seem a very slight thing, it's not bad. I mean, you're getting something like Renee got, even though, they may be different in their context, but it's opening up the channels, and that's what's important. So keep practicing, contemplate those dreams and the meaning of them. And it's not like a go on where you go, oh, I got it, I understand what it is. It's meaningless to try to pass it or understand it as much as to contemplate it. That's what's important. Okay. So yeah, keep working with it. That's good. Okay.
Yeah, and the second question is now a little bit afraid of dark cave. And,
I'm sorry, you're afraid of what?
Dark cave samadhi.
Oh, don't worry about that, because you'll know the difference. Dark cave samadhi is just simply, it's not like you're going to go into a cave and there's going to be a bunch of bats in there and snakes or whatever. It is when the mind is inactive, it is just simply like you walk into a refrigerator and close the door, the light goes off, and you're just chilling there. Nothing's happening. When the samadhi is a clear samadhi, the mind is aware, completely aware of its environment. It knows precisely where it's at, what is happening, yet the mind is not moving. It is not reaching for anything. And so there's a difference in that. So you will get it. Don't worry. Now, as you can distinguish between those descriptions, then you will do it. You don't try to say, oh, I want to get into this samadhi or that. But when you do it correctly, you will not fall into dark cave samadhi. Dark cave samadhi comes because people want to block thoughts from their mind. And so because of that, the mind is able and accommodates them and says, okay, you want that? There it is. The lights go off. Now what? Nothing, because in dark cave samadhi, nothing's happening. So it's just like go to sleep. Click, click, ding, wake up. But it's different. The other one, the mind is extremely engaged, but is engaged in a non-engaging way. So that's the difference. So it's not a non-engagement of neutralizing all thoughts. It is an engagement of realizing that these are arising because of causes and conditions, and the wisdom is present to know precisely why these images are arising, or thoughts patterns are arising. And it can only do that by non-engagement. But this is engaging and non-engaging. It's kind of the same thing as abiding and non-abiding. So it's okay. So you'll be fine. Okay, I give you special dispensation. You won't enter into dark cave samadhi. Okay.
Thank you.
I knew my Catholic upbringing would be useful someday. Any other questions? No questions? What time we? That was it for your questions. I thought this might produce some. Here comes Jake. Go ahead.
Hi, Gilbert.
Hello.
So this is a question that I hope is related to today, but it kind of has been brewing since you read the Heart Sutra. And this line in the Heart Sutra, which I'm, not quoting directly, but the Mahaprajnaparamita is real and not false, just really jumped out to me because I'm reading the Diamond Sutra, which kind of pokes holes in everything and says like, no, that's empty, that's empty, that's empty. And then, saying like this is real and not false kind of struck me. And the understanding that I had was, like Mahaprajnaparamita is not, this thing that we can point to and be like, there it is, so if it were, then I could maybe say like it's some empty concept. And so that was my understanding. And then I came across something in the commentary of the Diamond Sutra, which I think is it's Red Pine's translation, and in his commentary, he cites Wei Ning, who I think talks about the uncreated dharmas, which I think refers to one of those was Prajnaparamita, uncreated dharma with a little d. And now it's back to being a dharma in my head. So there's something that I feel I haven't, squared that fully. And I guess my best understanding at this point is we have these concepts, like a conceptual notion of what like nirvana is, a conceptual notion of what Mahaprajnaparamita is, but the actual experience of those things is non-conceptual. And that's where I've gotten to, but I was wondering if you could kind of point me in the right direction.
I'm trying to find the quote from what we read today, if I can find it. So in the Dharmata Vibhaga treatise, it says, since the non-existence appears, delusions is the cause of thorough affliction. So if the non-existent appears, you have to think, how is it non-existent appearing? Where is it appearing? It's appearing in mind. But if it appears, then delusion accompanies it, and affliction, suffering accompanies it. And that's why they're talking about the illusory elephant and everything. That which exists does not. That truly what exists will not appear. The only thing that appears is phenomena. Mind is silenced. And that's why the Diamond Sutra says the Buddha cannot be known by 32 marks. What you're doing is you're beginning to link these together. And I've been giving you guys so many different sutras for this very, very purpose, is linking these together and going, oh, I see. So what were you saying in the Heart Sutra? What was the part you mentioned?
Mahaprajnaparamita is real and not false.
Is real and not false. So you go, wait a minute, because everything's saying it's empty and it's real and not false. That which does not appear is real, not false. If it appears, it's false. You see how they link together? It's very incredible, because we're not talking about the same kind of real and unreal. It is not a real and unreal in the phenomenal world. It's like somebody going like this, a magician, and conjuring up and has a little foam ball in their hand and it magically appears in your hand. That's all in samsara. We're not talking about that. We're talking about mind itself. And the mind magically produces this phenomena. But that which can produce that phenomena is real. The phenomena is not. And because of the production of this phenomena, then suffering exists. Knowing that that is a dream, knowing that there's neither a dreamer or a dream, that it all belongs to mind, removes suffering. You see, all of this stuff is clicking together. And the more you practice, the more sincerely you practice, it will click together. The more sutras you read, Today I was reading on the Avatamsaka Sutra, and the person that was the editor of it, his name's Dan Layton, he had a very interesting preface to it saying, that this sutra doesn't necessarily have to be read in order. Any sutra has to be read in order because they all have very deep parts to them. But it's something that we have to connect with them. And then as we connect with them, little by little, those will connect with other sutras, and you will see this. And Shifu said that the mind is at the hub of all dharmas, and when we see that in that way, then we understand how this is. It will come to you. It's starting to come to you, and these are the questions that come up that are that show you that you're on the right path. Okay, you don't have to understand it 100%, but you see how incredible these sutras are. This is a very deep sutra that I'm presenting to you, and I think some of you are kind of picking up and going, "Oh, I see even a little bit." It doesn't matter if you're confused with this. It's okay. It's all right. I wouldn't expect that you would become enlightened by listening to this one time, but the repetition of what's real and not false does make a difference. So good, you're doing it the way you should be doing. That's why we call this mind work. We could call it Buddha work too. No, or such work. Okay. Anybody else? Nope. Going. There goes Letty. Okay. Then we're done. Thank you for attending and listening. This is not, basic Buddhism, but within this I present basic Buddhism, but take it up a notch. And if you can hang in there and do this, it will pay off. It really will. And I think a lot of you have already seen this in your own practice, how this is beginning to change. Some people, just beginners and coming in and picking up on this, is very, very amazing. So please hang in there. Okay. Take care.
Thank you, Gilbert.
You're welcome.
Thank you